A short time ago, we heard the news we all hoped we wouldn't hear, that Prince is dead at the age of 57. I can tell you, we've seen officers with the Minneapolis Police Department canvassing the area. I did hear one witness tell an officer on scene that she heard multiple shots, and she told that officer she ducked for cover. Zach, that object that was thrown, it was a firework that was tossed from the crowd at one of the officers. This interstate has been shut down in both directions for about 2 hours. Saw Minnesota state troopers engaging with the protesters, saying, hey, we need to have a conversation. Most of you watching and listening at home know this demonstration is a result of the killing of 32-year-old Philando Castile. This church, the cathedral, holds 3,000, but there were more people than seats today. The 32-year-old was remembered as someone who was caring, loving, kind, and self-sufficient. Those are all words his Uncle Clarence used to describe his nephew. Good evening to you. Here's something you don't see often: phone books with the bold message, taxi service. I tell you, all the streets around this area are blocked. It was even tough for our crew to get here to the staging center.
Reporter Adrian Broaddus from our affiliate KARE 11 on the scene.
Here in Chanhassen, Minnesota, the crowd continues to grow outside of Paisley Park. Just over my shoulder, there are dozens of bouquets that well-wishers have left behind. Donald Trump has had a tough week, from issues with his campaign manager to those statements he made about abortion. I am sitting on the branch of a tree that snapped at its trunk. And here in St. Anthony, this is just one example of tree branches blanketing lawns. A few blocks away from here, some of those branches fell on homes. That tour, or this concert for tonight, has been delayed. That's because a lightning strike was spotted within 6 miles of the stadium.
I'm gonna stop a car.
One traffic stop.
I'm gonna check the IDs. I have reason to pull it over.
Multiple lives changed.
The 2 occupants just look like people that were involved in a robbery.
One occupant, Philando Castile. The other, Diamond Reynolds. Did you hear the officers allege you fit the description of a robbery suspect?
Please allow her. I did hear that, but we didn't fit any of those descriptions.
This is the description on the audio clip.
The driver looks more like one of our suspects just because of the wide set nose.
Philando's uncle, Charles Castile, calls it racial profiling.
Just thought it was kind of insane to pull somebody over saying that they matched the robbery suspect by having flared nostrils. It's kind of hard to see flared nostrils from a car. But I just think that that's not a good enough excuse to pull anybody over and then end up dead behind that.
A minute and a half after the call to dispatch.
Shots fired. Larpenter and Fry.
Copy, you just heard it? You just heard the shots fired?
Shots fired.
First of all, what we got to do is get my nephew buried and laid to rest in a good and honorable way. And after that, that's when the fight begins. Then we're going to start working to get serious justice.
Good evening to you, Julie, and to those of you watching and listening at KARE 11 News. We begin our day with a morning editorial meeting. And in our meeting this morning, we challenged ourselves to have some difficult conversations.
And then I remember this mural just a few blocks from the 4th precinct, the handshake with the words peace and harmony, and we thought this would be a good place for this conversation to begin. The 4th precinct has been a temporary home for many races.
Oh, I became racist, if you will, against half of me. A third of me, actually, because I'm triracial. I'm black, white, and I'm Native American.
Divided by separate truths.
Having black friends, like my parents didn't understand.
Let's pause for a moment. As a journalist, I cover every story with the same approach. But part of the pain is when I see how far apart people are because of their implicit bias. I know I stand on the shoulders of many as a journalist, but another piece of that pain is knowing I can't solve the problem of this hurting community behind me. Indeed, I have my own implicit bias, but I'm open to other perspectives.
But the reality is you cannot ignore your own lens, the experiences that shaped you. And this is where I grew up, in suburban Plymouth, a great community, but not an extremely diverse one when I was growing up. And Adrian, I was sharing that with you earlier, that I realized I had not stepped foot in North Minneapolis until I was a journalist covering those racial inequities. I was shielded from all that, and it was a really hard realization.
You know, that's not only your truth, but the truth for some others who watch and listen to our broadcast. It's our privilege as journalists to be able to enter these communities and share stories across the board. But the question now is, how do we help others understand?
The solutions to all of the problems and all of the ills that affect American society, you know where they are?
In a book?
They're on the shelves. Absolutely right. They're on the stacks.
This is Keith Mays,
Born and raised in Harlem,
Associate Professor of African American and African Studies at the U of M.
he's diagnosed our society with historical amnesia.
So things have changed, but things have not changed. Whites don't have to really interact with African Americans or people of color at all, because if they can work downtown, you may see some on the streets, you may see a whole lot of folk of color on Nicollet Mall, but then you go back home. Where is home? Home could be Minneapolis, but also home is the suburbs. So you are not forced to really deal with the issues. You can be indifferent. The danger of indifference is ignorance.
So are you saying if we don't change the hearts of people, there's really nothing we can do?
You have to not only change hearts, but you have to change minds.
That's why Mays focuses on empathy as light in the darkness.
But stresses racial fault lines don't run just through North Minneapolis.
They run deep within all of us.
We're all the same person, like God made us equally.
And we all bleed the same color blood.
And with our non-traditional story, we only scratched the surface today. And Lindsay was saying earlier, and we talked about this, it's sort of a reporter's notebook, some of the conversations we've had with people that don't make air, but those folks were very brave going on camera, sharing their truths with us. I was here when a group of fans placed the first poster on the fence that's behind me. Inside of Prince's palace, known as Paisley Park, he died alone. But as a child, he was surrounded by a group of musicians who nurtured his talent in North Minneapolis for free.
The mayor would come and kick off our festivals on the stage.
Pages from a tattered photo album.
This is the way, the original building, founded by young people in North Minneapolis.
Reveal the past. Spike Moss says the way, where they hosted free music lessons, was an incubator for talent. And see that teen with the afro in all green?
Yeah, that's Prince in the back room where we did the Friday and Saturday night dances. And
Moss, who ran the center from the late 60s to 1985, said his vision was to give students the confidence they needed for the world. When it came to Prince,
all I wanted for him is to have a good life. I was working with all poor kids. I wanted them to have an opportunity and a good life.
Years before the artist performed at First Avenue, headlines from this old photo album show Prince performed in front of thousands at community festivals sponsored by The Way.
We did festivals, we did parties every week, Friday and Saturday. And Prince, Time, everybody performed in that back room. Because back then, blacks weren't allowed to perform anywhere.
The Way, a place of hope, gone. Now, the Minneapolis 4th Precinct occupies that space. As questions surrounding the end of Prince's life grow, Moss looks back.
I remember Prince, he didn't even have a guitar case. He would hold it by the neck and be coming down the street to class. He loved music, holding it like this, walking down the street holding it. Never even had a case. But he was serious.
He was serious. Some powerful memories and images we saw and heard there, and still some powerful.
Okay to use either arm for blood pressure?
Throughout life, we all wait for someone or something.
Sometimes it's rather quick, sometimes it's not quite so quick. So
Tom Meeks is waiting for an update on the condition of his new heart.
And I'm just excited to feel it beat again.
Casey Heisler waits to hear the rhythm of that heart again. It was a Sunday. The phone call came at 4 a.m.
Do you have the right guy? Like, are you sure it's Matt?
Her brother Matt was a student at the University of North Dakota. In March, a house fire ended his life. Matt was 21.
He was very tender. From a little boy, he was always just, he had a huge heart.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Doc.
And Tom, he now lives with that same heart.
You look awesome.
I'm telling you, I feel awesome.
When you get your license, you check that box, and you think it's just a small thing.
At 16, Matt signed up to be an organ donor.
There was no alternative for me except a transplant.
Because of Tom's age and other health concerns, 5 different hospitals refused to consider him for a heart transplant. But the Mayo Clinic gave Tom a lifeline, putting him on a waiting list for a new heart.
I am tickled that I'm doing as well as I am.
That's Tom, 2 days after he received that lifeline, thanks to Matt.
Proud of Matt. Really proud of Matt.
The heart that I grew up with and like felt in all of my hugs when I hugged him, that it's still out there somewhere.
The day is finally here. Long awaited, by the way. Long awaited.
Pretty excited about this.
Obviously, in my case, they're always going to carry a very, very warm spot in my heart.
8 months after Matt died, Matthew's dad, Jared, his mom, Cheryl, and younger sister, Casey, embraced the heart they love.
Wow.
Hi. You must be Casey.
Cheryl. Thank you.
The waiting
Nice to meet you.
is finally over.
One more, Jared.
Hey,
You know,
oh man. Oh.
I woke up this morning and told
So nice to meet you.
Matt that Mom and Dad's coming today.
This is his graduation picture.
Both families shared memories.
Is this you?
And created new ones.
Add friend.
Because of Matt,
Oh, what a good picture.
Tom gets more time with his wife, Ann, and their 4 grandchildren.
Would you like to listen to your brother's heart?
And the Heislers get to hear from Matt again. A sister who only wanted to feel her brother's heart now gets to hear it.
We're all gonna listen. Do I do it this way?
Matt didn't just donate his heart. His generosity helped 60 people. A 46-year-old woman received one of Matt's kidneys. The other went to a 56-year-old woman. The life of a 61-year-old man was saved by Matt's gift of a liver.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, believe me, it's my pleasure.
Last one, Tom.
All right.
Comfort found in a moment, well worth the wait.
It's awesome.